All right, so here's number 2. Okay, here's our fishing pole. Remember, all this is about how do we attract a woman? How do we catch her? So we already kind of decided you want to do less, the little worm versus the big sirloin steak. You're giving her just enough to get her hooked. You're not, it's if you were to catch a rat or a mouse and with a mouse trap, you put just a little piece of cheese. You don't put a whole block of cheese there. You just put just enough to get her to come along, just to entice her is all you're doing, not to scare her off, just enticing her. Okay, now, the second thing I think about is the different purpose of my text. And the way you can think about what purpose your text should have is the different situation you might be in. So I'm going to break this down into 4 different situations you kind of might be in. There could be more, of course, but based on a bunch of questions I've gotten from guys, here's kind of how I look at it. There's 4 situations. Man, I wish I had a bigger whiteboard. All right. First situation you might be in. That marker stinks. Is you need to open her. And Trey, I'm talking to you right now. I know you're not watching this live, Trey, but I promised you I'd go over this. So opening her is one situation you might be in. That is going to change how I approach sending her the text versus these other situations. All right? Glad you're following. Thank you, Timothy, for letting me know. I want to make sure you guys stick with me here because this is more advanced and kind of, it's not as much basic. There's multiple levels to this. All right, so opening her is one type of bait that I would have. That's one situation. A different situation is there's like a stall or a lull. Stall, is that S-A-L-L or H-L? I don't know. Doesn't matter. A stall or a lull in your combo. This happens a lot. If you are texting a girl or you are online dating especially, a lot of times it'll get to this point where it's just like, it feels forced. There's a stall or a lull in the conversation, but you've already started talking. So that it's a different situation than you're opening her. Different scenario. Third scenario is you're trying to engage her in going on a date. Okay. Just recapping so far. Opening her. A lot of guys, this is one situation. A lot of guys have trouble opening her. Of course, all right? There's a totally different scenario for there's a stall or a lull in your conversation. It just kind of hit a standstill, but you guys were talking before. You're past the opening stage. All right, that's a different situation. Another situation is you're trying to get her on a date. So maybe you've already talked back and forth. You had a good conversation, but you're like, how do I get her on a date? How do I get her excited about going on a date? How do I make it so she doesn't flake? Very advanced on that one. Lots about that in the membership as you go in the levels. If we have time, we'll talk about that as well. And then the fourth one, which is the best place to be, my favorite place to be, is she's into you. She's into you. You already know she's totally into you. And all you have to do is basically send something to get her to reach back out to you or whatever. So anyway, 4 situations. All right, now the reason, this is number 2 here, is the first thing we need to know is you do less than you think. Less is more. Make her kind of work to get more information out of you. You're just getting her hooked. So you want to do a lot of curiosity. And again, I'll give you step 3 here. I'm going to give you some text that you can send tonight or tomorrow to a girl and just see how it works. But the situation you are in, one of these 4 situations is going to change. You know how I said in the first one, it's like a worm versus sirloin steak? Well, this is more of like, we know we want the worm, we want just enough, but now it's like, and I'm not a fisherman, but you're going to fish with a worm is your bait. Sometimes if you're like fly fishing, right, you put a fly on there. I'm guessing, I think, I've never gone fly fishing. All right, so you have a fly or whatever. But you see, it's the different type of bait changes on this type of situation. You're still always doing less. You're still doing the worm versus the sirloin steak. You're doing as little as possible just to get her curious. But now, depending on your situation here, is going to depend what type of bait you use. Are you using the worm? Are you using the fly? Are you using the... is anyone else a fisherman? Give me some other bait types. You know, there's obviously different types of bait you would use to catch a fish. If I ever went fishing, I would know. But anyway, so I'm going to break down... Oh, wait, hold on. Oh, yeah, okay. Now, to know what type of bait you want to use, right? The fly, the worm, whatever. If you're going to open her, you have a different purpose. Okay, squid, frozen clams, chopped up other fish. Thank you, Philip. Thank you. I'm not a fisherman. So there you go. There's lots of different types of bait you might use. We already know small versus large, but there's different, Captain Philip, different types of bait. All right, here we go. Okay, when you open her, the purpose is going to change the bait you use. And the purpose of opening her is you really want to make an impression. When I think of if I have not met a girl yet, if I just met her and I haven't texted her yet, she barely knows me, the first goal I have when I open is to make myself stand out. I want to make an impression. I want to stand out. When you, in the membership, you know that when we have, for online dating, like swipe right, you put a challenge in your bio. That right there is one way to stand out, because even if your opener isn't super creative, you stand out enough that she looks at your profile and now she goes, oh, this guy's got a really interesting profile. So you can stand out in that way. That is why you set up your profile with a challenge or a test in there. That's one way to kind of stand out. So you want to make an impression, though. You want to show her that you are different, not like crazy different, but you want different enough, because again, really think about this. Women have, these days, it's easier for you as a guy to meet women if you know how to online date and all that. You see how many options there are, right? Well, women have that same accessibility. So they get, but don't worry about that. Yeah, there's always going to be a lot of women competing. The cool thing is a lot of guys don't understand this stuff. So all you really need to do is kind of know what they're doing, and you are different. So when everyone else says, hey, hi, whatever, or they send this long sirloin steak, they send her 3 questions, just by the way you message her, you stand out in that way. So that's kind of nice in itself. So don't get worried about that. You won't have a problem. But that is one, just noticing that is one goal or outcome that's a different goal or outcome than, let's say I already opened her and she knows who I am, but if there's a stall or a lull in the conversation, this is like my only goal I have in that is like, if it stalled or lulled or whatever, and maybe it was exciting at one point, is here's my goal. It's simply this. My goal is not to make an impression. By that point, she's kind of already got a little bit different vibe of me by the way I text, but I just want to get back on our radar. Okay. So we have, already there's 2 different scenarios. That's why there would be a worm versus a fly. Make an impression is different when you're opening her or starting your conversation with her, versus you've already made that impression. Now it's like, I'm just going to get back on our radar. And then A different one is engage her in going on a date. Okay, now there's a different scenario here. If I have a girl and she's interested in me, again, think about it. She's still conversing with other guys. So even if she's kind of interested, when you go to get her on a date, this is where it can go wrong, or a girl's going to flake out. Is my goal is different. My goal is now to get her excited about the idea. All right, so if I'm in this scenario, where there's a girl that we're talking and going, everything's going, fine, my goal, the bait I would put on her to get her curious, whatever, to kind of send a text to her, would be with this goal in mind. I'm going to get her excited about the idea. This is why some of you guys know when I talk about, 4 quarters, the 4-quarter date I have, the $10 bill date I have. Other things I do is I get girls to like bring Skittles or bring candy bars or whatever. You've probably heard of different type, depending on how much you've seen of my stuff, you've heard of different ideas I do, but the idea is I get a girl to stop thinking about like, I'm not just trying to make an impression, be different. I'm like trying to get her to think about the date, and I want her to go, ooh, that sounds interesting. So she has to actually be curious. I'm getting her baited about the date idea. All of these stages are change how I would send a kind of text out of the blue, but it's going to go through these stages, like these steps. I want you to be able to create your own type of openers or lines when you see that there's kind of different scenarios for each thing you need. All right, now the fourth one, she's into you. My favorite, this is great. This is when you got a girl that's double texting you, triple texting you. She's replying to you right away when you're texting her. Most of the time, now you don't have to be a guy that sleeps around or any of that, but if you've slept with a girl and then you're like playing the principles of texting, you'll be at this stage a lot more often because she's already into you and now she's kind of hanging around your text. If that was the scenario and I just want to get a girl that's already in my life to just come over tonight to hang out, I have a different goal in mind. Literally, it's just tell her you're in, like let her know that you're available. So I can literally send and I would tell you guys to never send that text. But when you get to the point where you know what I'm talking about and she's totally into you and all that, all you literally have to do, and this is the stage it gets to, is when I can like go here and I don't know, maybe tonight, I haven't decided after this webinar if I'm going to play some Fortnite, see if my brother is going to play with me tonight, or if I'm going to send a hi text and just try to get a girl to hang out with me tonight. Just basically, I just say hi, hey, what's up? And I'll just be like, what are you up to tonight? And she can be like, oh, nothing. I'll be like, all right, let's hang out. Come over, something like that. That is the stage I get to. That's the stage you want to get to, and that's the stage that is the most fun. But again, that changes everything. Look at that. I just send literally hi. Okay. Now, seeing this crazy board here, guys, look at this board. Just for a second, have some mercy on me because this is just a fraction of what goes on in my brain all the time. Do you feel bad for me a little bit? Look how chaotic this is. But let's see. Oh, what of these scenarios are you most interested in for us to cover next? Because I want to leave some time here to have any random questions you have, whether it's about this or other things going on. So which one would you like to, what? Opening her, I know I told Trey I would talk about that. So that is a for sure. In fact, we will talk about opening her. This is probably another one that comes up super important. This one is just so fun when you master it, but it's a lot more complicated. So I will probably focus on 1 and 2 for a second here. Let me take a drink of my beer for a second. Let me catch my breath. Don't forget, subscribe, like, comment, share the video, but definitely subscribe. Peace.